There are women in this world who carry something you can't quite explain. You can feel it before they even speak. A presence, a kind of quiet electricity in the air. They don't need to command attention. It simply happens. People find themselves drawn to them, yet unsettled. Something about them feels ancient, powerful, even a little mysterious. Have you ever met someone like that? A woman whose silence speaks louder than words? Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, once said that when a woman awakens to her deeper self, she touches something primordial, something older than time itself. He called it the awakening of the self, the union of consciousness and the unconscious. And when this happens, it's not just a blessing, it's a burden. Because such women don't just live in the world, they see through it. They recognize illusion, hypocrisy, falsehood. They sense truth, even when others deny it. And that truth can be heavy to carry. This video isn't about ordinary intuition or being spiritual on the surface. It's about the 7 hidden signs that reveal a woman with rare spiritual power. The kind Jung believed could transform her life and the collective soul of those around her. So stay with me until the end, because Jung's dark warning might just explain why many powerful women end up misunderstood, isolated, or even doubting their own light. And if you ever wondered whether that quiet storm inside, you mean something deeper, you'll want to hear this through. Before we go deeper, make sure you subscribe, because we're about to uncover what only awakened souls truly understand. She doesn't just feel her own emotions, she feels the world. Have you ever felt sadness that wasn't yours? Tears rising for no reason? Or joy that suddenly filled your chest when someone else smiled? That's not imagination. That's energy. Women with rare spiritual power carry hearts like tuning forks. They pick up frequencies that most people can't sense. They walk into a room and instantly know who's hurting, who's hiding, who's pretending, even without a word being spoken. It's a gift, but Jung warned, it's also dangerous. He said that when the unconscious opens too wide, it begins to absorb everything. Pain, fear, desire, guilt, until the woman carrying it begins to drown in the emotions of others. That's why such women often seem quiet, withdrawn, or mysterious. They're not cold. They're simply overwhelmed. They're carrying emotional weight that doesn't belong to them. The grief of a friend, the anxiety of a child, the sorrow of a stranger they barely know. They can sense what others suppress, and that makes them powerful. But it also makes them tired. Yet, here's the truth Jung wanted us to understand. This kind of sensitivity is not weakness. It's not too emotional. It's the sign of a soul that has awakened beyond the physical plane. Such women live between worlds, feeling what's visible and what's invisible. And that depth of feeling isn't meant to break them. It's meant to heal. But only if they learn to protect their energy, to ground their spirit, to stop carrying pain that was never theirs. So if you've ever wondered why your heart feels like an open door, if you cry easily, but your presence heals others, if you've ever felt too much for this world, maybe you're not too much at all. Maybe you're exactly what the world needs. And this is only the first sign. Stay with me, because the next one reveals why these women's presence can shift the entire energy of a room without saying a single word. And before we move on, make sure you subscribe. You won't want to miss what Jung said next. She doesn't need proof. She just knows there's something in her gaze, calm, steady, almost unsettling. When she looks at you, it feels as if time slows down. She's not just seeing your face, she's reading your energy. The tone of your silence, the tension behind your smile, the story hiding behind your eyes. Women with rare spiritual power possess a piercing intuition, the kind that doesn't need words or explanations. Carl Jung called it the power of the unconscious feminine, the wisdom that sees beyond illusion, beyond the masks people wear to survive. She knows when someone's lying, even when they sound convincing. She senses when love is genuine and when it's laced with control. And she can feel hidden pain in others long before it's spoken aloud. That's why small talk drains her. Pretending exhausts her. She can't unsee what she sees. Jung once wrote that intuition is perception by the unconscious. It's the soul's way of recognizing truth before the mind can process it. But he also warned, this gift can be both sacred and dangerous. Because when a woman sees through people so clearly, it can make others uncomfortable. They feel exposed, even when she says nothing. Some will admire her clarity. Others will pull away, afraid of being seen too deeply. And so, this woman often walks a lonely road. Not because she wants to, but because truth doesn't always fit comfortably in shallow places. That's why Jung cautioned that intuition must always be guided by compassion, not pride. Without humility, this power can turn into projection, seeing darkness in others without facing one's own shadow. The truly awakened woman learns to balance her insight with grace. She observes without condemning. She understands without needing to fix. And even when she sees the truth, she chooses silence when silence brings peace. So if you've ever looked at someone and just knew something wasn't right, if you can sense dishonesty, sadness, or love without a single word, that's not coincidence. That's your intuition speaking. That's your spirit remembering what it's always known. But stay with me, because the next sign reveals why these women often attract both deep love and deep resistance from the people around them. And before we continue, make sure you subscribe, because what Jung said next might surprise you, and no soul becomes powerful without walking through fire. Every woman who carries rare spiritual power has walked through something that nearly broke her. But instead of shattering, she transformed. Maybe it was betrayal from someone she loved deeply. Maybe it was the loss of someone who felt like home. Maybe it was years of being misunderstood, unseen, or silenced. Whatever form it took, it wasn't just pain, it was an initiation. Carl Jung believed that pain is not the enemy of enlightenment. It is the path to it. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's exactly what she's done. While others tried to bury their wounds, she faced hers. She walked into the darkness of her own soul and found the light that no one could take away. This kind of woman doesn't fear her emotions anymore. She understands that sadness has wisdom, that anger has purpose, and that grief has depth. She no longer hides from her shadows. She dances with them. And that's what makes her presence feel so magnetic. People can sense her peace, but they don't always realize it was born from chaos. Her calmness isn't natural, it's earned. Jung warned that those who suppress their pain suppress their potential. But when a woman faces her pain fully, something extraordinary happens. Her suffering becomes strength. Her empathy deepens. Her awareness sharpens. Her spirit becomes untouchable. She doesn't talk much about what she's been through, because she doesn't need to. You can feel it in her silence, in the way she listens, in the kindness that doesn't demand recognition. Her scars aren't signs of weakness. They're sacred symbols of survival. She's the kind of woman who can sit beside someone else's pain without trying to fix it, because she's already met her own and made peace with it. So if you've ever walked through heartbreak, loss, or loneliness and found yourself somehow softer instead of harder, that's not failure. That's transformation. That's the sign of a rare, awakened soul. Stay with me until the end, because the next sign reveals the mysterious aura that surrounds women like this, the one Jung called both divine and dangerous. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe. The next truth might just shift how you see yourself forever. She often feels like she doesn't belong, not because she's lost, but because she sees differently. From a young age, she noticed things others ignored. Emotions beneath smiles, truth behind silence, the energy that lingers between words. While others were busy trying to fit in, she was quietly observing, wondering why she couldn't pretend the way they did. Women with rare spiritual power often carry this quiet sense of otherness. They walk through the world like they're from another time, too deep for a shallow world, too awake for empty conversations. They crave meaning, not attention, connection, not convenience. They long for people who speak from the soul, not from the ego. Carl Jung called this the process of individuation, the sacred journey of becoming whole. He explained that those who walk this path often feel isolated because they're no longer following the collective noise. Society rewards conformity, not consciousness. And so, awakened women often find themselves on the outside, misunderstood by those who only see the surface. But here's the paradox. Though she feels invisible to many, she becomes magnetic to the few who are ready to awaken. There's something about her energy, calm yet powerful, that makes others pause. It's as if her presence reminds people of something ancient within themselves. Solitude for her isn't loneliness. It's sacred space. It's where she recharges, where she listens to her inner voice, where she remembers who she truly is. When the world becomes too loud, she retreats not to escape, but to return to her center. So if you've ever felt like you don't fit in, like you're too different, too intense, too aware, you're not broken. You're evolving. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken others just by being yourself. Stay to the end, because Jung's final warning will reveal why the world resists women like you, and how that resistance is actually proof of your power. And if you haven't already, subscribe now. The next truth might just change how you see your solitude forever. Some people drain energy when they enter a room. Others shift it. She does the latter. Women with rare spiritual power don't always speak loudly or draw attention with their looks. Their presence itself does the work. There's something quietly radiant about them. Even in stillness, they emanate calm strength, an energy that makes people breathe easier without knowing why. Her aura is not a metaphor, it's a frequency. Animals sense it and feel safe. Strangers open up to her without understanding what draws them in. Children often smile at her, as if they recognize something familiar. Her presence balances chaos, softens tension, and brings warmth into cold spaces. Carl Jung described such women as living embodiments of the anima, the divine feminine principle that heals and balances in a world ruled by control, logic, and noise. This energy doesn't need to dominate. It harmonizes. It restores. It brings back what the world has forgotten: gentleness, empathy, and depth. But Jung also warned that this kind of energy is magnetic to both light and darkness. Those in pain will feel drawn to her because her energy feels like home. But the same light that heals also exposes what others hide: their fears, their wounds, their shadows. And not everyone can handle that. So part of her spiritual journey is discernment, learning when to open her heart and when to protect it. Not everyone deserves access to her calm. Not everyone is meant to drink from her peace. Her light is sacred, and her energy is not infinite. If your presence shifts the atmosphere, if others feel lighter after meeting you, if peace follows you into every space, it's not coincidence, it's resonance. You are living proof that energy doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. You heal not through words, but through being. The rarest sign of all is when she no longer seeks control, validation, or recognition. By the time a woman reaches this level, she has walked through her storms, faced her shadows, and reclaimed her light. She doesn't need the world's approval anymore, because she has learned to listen to something deeper: her soul. You can feel it in the way she moves, calm, grounded, yet unshakably sure of who she is. She doesn't rush, she doesn't chase. If something is meant for her, it flows naturally. If not, she lets it go with grace. She trusts timing, energy, and intuition more than appearances or logic. Carl Jung said that a fully individuated woman, a woman who has integrated both her light and shadow, is the most powerful force in creation, because she lives from wholeness, not from wound. Her choices are not reactions. They are reflections of alignment. She doesn't fight to be seen. She simply shines, and the world can't help but notice. She no longer asks, "What do they think of me?" Instead, she asks, "What does my soul need right now?" That shift changes everything. Her peace becomes her priority. Her intuition becomes her compass. She understands that real power isn't loud. It's the quiet ability to stay centered when everything around her is chaos. Say, gently, when a woman reaches this level of consciousness, she no longer needs to prove she's strong. She is strength, wrapped in grace, wrapped in wisdom, wrapped in peace. She doesn't talk about power. She embodies it. She doesn't seek to lead. She naturally inspires. And as she walks through life, those around her begin to awaken too. Not because she told them to, but because her presence reminds them of what peace truly feels like. So if you've ever felt a calm certainty rising in you, a knowing that doesn't shout, but simply is, perhaps your soul has begun to take the lead. Carl Jung gave one final warning about rare spiritual power, one that few understand until it's too late. He said, "The brighter the light, the darker the shadow." This means that the more awakened a woman becomes, the more aware she must be of her own darkness, pride, judgment, or the temptation to believe she's above others. The danger of spiritual awakening is that it can quietly turn into spiritual ego. It happens when someone confuses awareness with superiority, when compassion fades and comparison sneaks in. Jung warned that even the most evolved souls must stay rooted in humility, because true spiritual power isn't about being better than others. It's about being real, kind, and human. Remind yourself, enlightenment is not escape, it's embodiment. It's bringing love into the messiness of life. It's forgiving when you could condemn, and staying grounded when you could drift into pride. Jung said the greatest illusion of awakening is believing you are done. The truth is you never are. Growth is infinite. The journey never ends. Every light has its shadow, and every soul must keep walking between them. So stay humble, stay awake, stay curious about your own darkness, because that's where the next light hides. Say softly, as if speaking to the viewer's soul, the moment you think you've reached the light is the moment you stop seeing your shadow. True awakening is not about rising above humanity. It's about embracing it. Now, take a deep breath. If this message spoke to your soul, don't forget to subscribe, because more people need to remember this truth. Keep watching, keep awakening, and never stop growing. Every woman carries this spiritual power inside her. It's not rare because it's given to few. It's rare because few awaken it. Invite viewers to reflect. Have you felt these signs within yourself? Have you noticed your sensitivity, your intuition, your quiet wisdom? Encourage them to honor their inner journey. Don't rush to awaken faster. Each lesson, each emotion, each pause is sacred. Then end with a serene invitation. If this message touched your soul, subscribe and stay connected. Together, we'll keep exploring the hidden layers of the mind and the mysteries Jung devoted his life to uncover. Remember, spiritual power isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, aware, and deeply alive.